catch up now.
How are my audio levels, guys?
Yeah, you're fine.
You sound good to me.
Cool.
Well, anyway, we can start this off. Sinatra, I heard that you were calling Rational a fag.
Yeah, he is.
When did that happen? I missed that.
Sorry, just throwing petrol on the fire. Have at it, boys.
Just a strong way to start. But I believe the original complaint was me. Let me pull up the original tweet here. I reposted an article from The Hill that said LGBTQ groups rally in response to NYT report on Trump's gender policy. And I said, LMFAO. You really did not like that, did you?
No, not really, considering everything that's going on. It seems like you're laughing at people reacting to their rights being taken away, or at least a leak of a memo that's proposing to do that. So I don't see exactly what's funny about that. So,
well, if you saw the picture, you might think it's funny, but what I was laughing at is the fact that these people are losing their minds about having equal rights. What my main question is, I don't understand the difference between what rights transgenders don't have as opposed to the average population that they would be losing.
Well, so they don't have equal rights because they're being the reason that we have protected classes are because some people are discriminated against in specific ways. So if I call you a woman, that wouldn't necessarily be harassment to you, but if somebody has gender dysphoria and doing that's going to trigger something, that has a different impact on them, which is the idea behind giving them protections under a protected class. Same as discrimination against African Americans, because they're discriminated against based on race, where generally white people are not.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah, white people are discriminated against based on race.
They absolutely are. And the other part of what you said is, if saying a transgender is the gender they are born as is not a form of discrimination, it's a form of honesty. And saying that you can't do that is not discriminatory, it's removal of freedom of speech.
Wait, so if you transgender is the gender they were born as. I'm sorry, I'm a bit confused. What does that mean?
Well, okay, that's not the point of what I was trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that if you say that and you want to protect people from hearing that, what you're doing is restricting speech, not protecting trans people.
But I don't think anyone was saying that you can't say to a trans person, you are transgender. That's a very weird thing to say that this policy does.
Rational said that that's discriminatory to say that. But
no.
There's a difference between somebody saying it on the street and saying it in the areas where people are protected under these laws, which are in housing and in the workplace and in healthcare. So there's a difference between you deciding to yell shit at somebody on the street and a boss coming up to somebody and regularly misgendering them.
Okay, so
yeah,
what you're saying is it's not about speech, it's about where the speech comes from.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's if you're just going up to people and harassing them by going hey, man, or whatever, a trans woman, that's harassment. And, I don't see why, that's a controversial thing to not want to allow. Is this is this person's right to be able to walk around and feel safe and not be discriminated against. And I can understand why it's considered a particularly hateful act to deliberately misgender somebody. It's not talking about accidentally slipping up and misgendering somebody either. So I don't really understand. And also this law has been around for quite some time. So if it has been silencing people en masse and it's an actual free speech rights issue, like, can you point to a few cases where people have been trialed or convicted for saying something mean to a trans person?
Well, Graham Linehan actually just got a warning from the police, like just the other week, for misgendering a trans person on Twitter.
I don't think it was just about him misgendering a trans person on Twitter.
It wasn't just about that, but that was one of the reasons.
Yeah, but
transphobic harassment.
With sort of statements about trans people in general, that it's not this, minor thing. It's pretty hardcore, the sort of shit he sort of says on a regular basis.
He should be allowed to say it. It shouldn't be illegal. It shouldn't be illegal to be a prick.
No, it shouldn't be illegal to be a prick, because when you make that kind of stuff illegal, what you do is you hide people's true intentions. Yeah. Would you rather have a group of racists on the street chanting their rhetoric, or would you rather have them conspiring in a room somewhere and then you have no idea to point at and go, that's the real racist?
I'm not really sure it's that simple. And to be honest, like, it is kind of threatening, the idea of them chanting together, because, they're riling each other up and getting each other angry, and that's a lot of energy there. And so, if you're a black person watching that happen, or say you were dating a black person, those people are basically posing a threat to you and your way of life by the fact that they are explicitly saying they don't think you should be who you are and do what you do.
And also, like, black people,
them being hidden or them being visible where you can see them, because I've spoken to a lot of people who have been charged under hate speech laws for like the very things that you're encouraging. It does not make them like less racist. It makes them even more racist, because the root of racism is victimhood. And see, if someone feels like they're being persecuted for their opinion, they don't blame the cops. They blame, whatever race or sexuality that they were yelling stuff at. It literally makes the problem worse. It causes even more division.
Like, black people have been like protected under these laws for years now. So are you saying that there's like way more racists now because force them to not be racist in public?
No, you guys are even saying that the right is on the rise. Like, yeah, the right wing is rising at a massive
of the
way.
hate speech laws like made people more racist because they couldn't yell
hate
stuff
speech
at people?
laws make people what you would consider racist. Not actually racist, but when you say you can't say this, a moderate person will go, well, I should be able to say this if I want to. And then,
so saying you can't say saying like, and to be honest, it's not even saying you can't say something. 9 times out of 10, somebody goes, maybe you shouldn't scream the N-word at the top of your voice. And then people go, oh my God, you're trying to take away my free speech. And it's like, dude, chill. No one's trying to take your free speech.
Once again, this only applies like in the workplace, in like in the healthcare field, and in like education. Like, I don't think it's unreasonable that someone should be able to sit down in a school and learn without, like, being called slurs and stuff.
Yeah, but this is about places recognizing your gender. So say, for example, it's not even slurs. Say that you are a student and you are a male to female trans, but the teachers and stuff address you as male. Like, would that be a problem?
If teaching male and female in biology class, do you mean?
No, just
calling the student.
Yeah, say if it was male
that's
to female.
bullying.
From like, my understanding, like, if that person is openly trans, and it's not like, oh wait, sorry, I forgot that you said that you're trans, I accidentally misgendered you. But like, if they're constantly, every single time they address that student, they're addressing them as like, butch, hey dude, man, hey, how are you doing?
I call women dude.
Happening all the time.
I call women my dude.
Okay, strike dude from there.
Yes.
We'll go with the other ones then.
Dude's gender neutral at this point.
I mean, it can be, but I think you know what he means. I think you're being a bit, disingenuous here, that you know what he's talking about. Like, if they're deliberately going out of their way to misgender a student trans because they're trans, I don't see why you'd go out of your way to point out that a child is trans to all the other kids. That seems a bit unfair, and like,
you can usually tell.
I mean, okay, but even if you can tell that this person is trans, is it really the right of a teacher to start pointing out saying like that about the student. Like, even if we took it about saying totally different, let's say a kid is covered in acne, absolutely riddled in it. If the teacher were to look at that kid and constantly call them pimples or constantly call them acne or like, I don't know, just like constantly draw attention to that, then like you can see how that wouldn't be appropriate for a teacher to do that, right?
Bullying builds character.
Okay, you're not even getting serious here.
No, I get what you're saying, but the whole idea of the memo was for prisons, shelters, and bathrooms, right?
No. It's way broader than that. Based on my understanding of it, it's going to go through the healthcare definition, which
Well, it should.
that protections have already been slashed under that. Like there were protections in the ACA, which the Trump administration, which those specifically protected trans people from discrimination and harassment within the healthcare system.
Well,
And the Trump administration back in 2017 already said that they will not enforce that law.
if
So-
you're transgender and you're a man trying to be a woman, you have to worry about male health specific things. That's not discrimination. Women with
wait, you would have to
vaginas
prove
don't
that
get
that's what you're
testicular
talking
cancer.
about.
But the main point of it was schools, shelters, and bathrooms. So do you think a man passing himself off as a woman should be able to stay in a woman's domestic abuse shelter?
I mean, just how you worded that is kind of the issue here, is you see trans women as men passing themselves off as women.
They are biologically men. That's what I'm saying. Fallon Fox should not be fighting women. So should a male to female transgender be able to stay at battered women's shelters?
I don't see what the issue is if they're not hurting anybody. Like, are you one of those people who think that men shouldn't be in domestic abuse shelters if they're being abused either?
No, men shouldn't be in female domestic abuse shelters. Men should.
Why
be,
not?
I mean, what if they're
Are men
transgender, like,
inherently
they're suffering
violent?
Similar abuse, right? So that would be the idea of why they would go to those same shelters.
Okay, so with that logic, let me just.
Are men more inherently violent than women? Is that what you're saying? Because I'm
On
kind of
average-
curious.
Oh no! Oh yeah, we are. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to deny that.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
shitbags.
Okay, so your belief is that trans women are indeed men, and men are inherently more violent than women. So by allowing what you see as men into women's spaces, you think that men will be violent to women there.
No, I think that women go to women-specific shelters to be away from men because they are inherently violent. That is the reason that women's shelters exist.
There
It's the-
literally was a case of that in Australia. Like, we actually covered it on TISM. It was a woman who actually called up the management group that like runs the women's shelter because a trans female was placed in, and basically, you know, she left her husband who was abusing her and beating her. She didn't want to be near men. She didn't want to be around men, and she basically says, you know, I don't care if it's trans. That is a man to me. I don't want to be in the same room, and all that type of stuff. And she ended up getting in trouble, like, for discrimination, just because she said, like, she'd just been beat up by her husband. She was in a women's shelter, and they were making her share a room with what she viewed was a man, and she really didn't feel comfortable with it. And when she complained about it, she got into trouble.
You should have the freedom from association with people if you want it. I don't see why that's such a big deal.
I mean, wait, okay, just to clarify, because I did some fact checking here. So the memo is from Health and Human Services that's talking about Title IX, okay? So it's Health and Human Services, and the Department of Education, Justice, and Labor are all expected to adopt those guidelines. So this is extremely broad, and it's going to affect trans people in many different areas of their everyday life. So this isn't just about like women's shelters. This is like every part of their life.
And on top of that, though,
These
it's not
protections
just
are going to be
that-
changed.
it's not just that, but also a lot of trans women get abused by their partners. What are they meant to do? Are they meant to go to a men's abuse shelter? Is that what you're saying? That they should be
Someone
just thrown in with men?
Someone could start a trans abuse shelter. You know,
Mhm.
they would get the backing for that.
I'm pretty sure
Would
that's
they?
already a thing.
Yeah. Fucking governments and companies and everybody are bending over
Wait,
backwards
you mean
for
the
that shit
government?
right now.
You mean the government that's been restricting trans rights? Like I can say
No,
four different times
whole
this
world
government
the
has
whole world isn't
restricted rights.
America.
You think they're going to support
The whole world
shelters
is
specifically for trans people?
the whole world isn't America, right?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about America because this memo was in
Yeah,
America.
but also in
I'm-
Australia,
I'm
like
not
why
saying-
to
I'm
my
saying-
home country, they're
Into a
defunding
shelter,
domestic
dude.
violence like services. They're defunding a lot of things like the domestic. I think it was a domestic violence hotline. They've defunded in my country. So, yeah, not everyone's America, but these problems happen all over the place.
Well, I don't see. There's nothing stopping people from establishing a trans shelter. There's
So,
nothing stopping
okay, in the
people from doing
meantime, though, what are they meant to do? In the meantime, if there aren't any around them, what are they meant to do? Where are they meant to go?
that. Yeah, well,
I would
obviously, it's a problem that needs solved. So someone better act fast and make a trans shelter.
I mean, that's what I don't understand is you're leaving these people with absolutely nothing else and then just going and shrugging and going, well, you know, sucks to be you, I guess.
I'd like to revisit the original question. Would you tell that woman who was abused by her husband and then forced to stay with a man when she didn't want to be one? Oh, well, sucks.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to do in that situation, honestly. I'd try, if I could, to somehow separate them. I don't know what the facility was like. I don't know if there was different rooms in this facility, a different area. It really depends on the situation. Like, what was she complaining about? I'd have to know more about it because
The fact it was a
she's
man.
genuinely uncomfortable with a trans person around her. You know, yeah, it's not great for her to be uncomfortable, obviously, but at the same time, like when the alternative is okay, we have a trans woman here who has nowhere to go, who's being abused, who has nothing else. Why should we put this woman before the other woman? You're arguing, well, we need to put this woman's comfort before this woman's safety, and I don't really necessarily agree with you there because I go, okay, but what are you going to do? You're going to throw this woman out on the street because, you know, and by this woman, I am talking about the trans woman. You're going to throw her out on the street. I don't understand what you want from them.
I just don't think that if a woman comes in after she just got the shit kicked out of her, that you have to go, okay, you have to stay with this person you just explicitly said you don't want to be around.
I think trans shelters are the answer. Like, it's
I think
not
trans shelters aren't the answer.
Yeah, it's not a case of like, you know, if they're saying that they don't want this, they don't want discrimination, they want to feel like belonging and everything like that. Well, there are some people that don't want to accept it, and you can't just shoehorn it down their throat and just go, no, this is happening to you whether you like it or not. You have to accept this lifestyle that you may not agree with. Like, that's
but what about the trans person though? I feel like you're putting a lot of emphasis on this woman who's not comfortable being around a trans person. But I mean, I don't know, maybe I have a weird idea of what a domestic violence shelter is, but I don't think it's necessarily you have to get together and paint each other's toenails and be best friends. If you have a problem with someone in the domestic violence shelter, I don't see why you couldn't just avoid them.
no, they were sharing a room. They were literally like sharing the room.
They
And
were
like,
forced to
It
share
seems like you could just move them to a different room.
She phoned
yeah,
up.
think
about it.
That's what she
The
was phoning
situation
for.
there.
She phoned up and asked for that, and then she got in trouble for discrimination, and she basically had to put up. Do you know what the trans woman was doing? Was sitting there telling this woman who'd just been beat up by her husband about all these bitches she's fucked and all that stuff as well. And that's, I realised that's just anecdotal, right? But I just thought that.
I mean, all of this is your anecdote.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
this
this seems
entire
like
example
it's a-
is your
it's a
anecdote.
situation that was
It's a
poorly
situation that needs
handled and
addressed.
not like a.
You've just cherry picked one example. I mean, for
No,
every
that's-
example
that's-
you
that-
come up
yeah, but
with,
that-
like,
it can
there's
happen
probably
again.
plenty of like, there's probably plenty where trans women have stayed there. No one's had a problem with
Okay,
them.
right, you can't
Maybe
you
some
can't do
people have
that.
never even noticed. Like, that's
This is
what I
also-
don't
That means
understand.
that means
There's
literally
plenty of
any.
alt-righters who have never been racist into someone black person's face too, but you don't talk about that, do you? You talk about
This
the
is
things that
also-
have happened.
This is also one example that's completely
That's
off
a non
topic.
sequitur.
Okay, then
Because
see
we're
how
only
the Trump
talking
thing
about
you're
this
talking about.
because
That's just one
Sinatra-
example as well, so we can disregard it then, yeah.
I
But
mean,
no,
I
I'm
just
saying
don't
This is one
really
example
understand.
that's off topic.
Okay, let's talk about
because-
something that's happened a couple times then, all right?
Well, let's talk about the
Person goes to
memo.
a
'cause
female
that's-
prison and starts abusing the female prisoners.
Wait, sorry, what?
A trans person goes to a female prison and starts abusing the female prisoners. I've seen a handful of stories like that.
Yeah.
A handful.
Are the rates higher than other abuse that's happening in there?
Because you know that abuse
Like, we would have
happens
to look
by
at that,
cis
like-
women as well, and cis women can abuse other women. So, you know, I don't understand why the
Cis
focus
women
is
have
always
people.
on trans women, where it's this amazing, important thing when, you know, a trans woman does it, but you guys don't give a shit when a cis woman does it. Because I heard a story from Adelaide about a cis woman raping a woman in a bar in the bathroom, and, you know, that didn't get any attention from these, you know, anti-trans people who freak the hell out. So I don't understand why
Because
the
people
emphasis
perceive
is
it
on
as
them
a
being
man.
transgender.
That's why people still have the thing is that men, like women, are vulnerable to men. I believe that's true. And whenever, even if a person is trans and they go, I am female, a lot of people don't view them as that. People still view them as men. And what they see is these men being placed in a situation with vulnerable women.
I mean, honestly, I think that's the
perception.
key problem here is that you guys seem to view trans women as men. We don't. Me and Rational Disconnect.
I personally don't. No, that's not what I said. I said.
I mean,
other
you've
people.
been literally saying that the whole time.
I mean, you've been arguing. for
I've
that
been saying that.
position,
That's not
so-
what I said. That's not what I've said. My exact words a second ago was other people don't view them as that.
Yeah. Okay, look, fair enough. You don't agree with those people. Fair enough. I'll just take your word on it.
I recognise male to female and I recognise female to male because that's been around for a long time. I don't recognise all the other imaginary made up genders though.
The key issue here, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the key issue here is there are real trans people alive today where they could end up in a situation where they might be forced into the men's prisons or something just because of their birth sex. Like someone like
If
Blair
you have
White.
a penis, you
you know,
should
think
go
about
to the
her.
men's prison.
Okay, so if Blair White were to be domestically abused, I mean, I'm sure Joey's a lovely person. This is completely hypothetical, so nobody take this the wrong way. But like, if she were to be abused by Joey, should she be forced out of a shelter for women who are abused because of her birth sex?
She shouldn't be forced to.
It would be a horrible situation if that were to happen, but the way to solve it is to get trans exclusive shelters.
Okay,
and she
so
shouldn't be
if
forced to be around someone who doesn't want to be around her.
goes,
Yeah.
if someone goes like in that shelter goes, ew, Blair White's a man, I don't want to be around her, so that matters more than Blair White's safety. I just want you to clarify that.
No.
So she should be
But
forced out.
that person shouldn't be forced to bunk with Blair if they don't want to.
Okay.
I don't
So
see
is
the
that
problem.
happening in
I
every
don't disagree. If
situation, though? Like,
if
are
there's
all-
other rooms and other options here, sure. If they can move her to a different room, but I don't really understand that you guys don't seem to care if trans people get kicked out onto the streets because of legislation changes.
But this is the same thing as well. As like, should me as a man, should I be allowed in a women's shelter? What if there's no men's shelters? Because there's almost no men's shelters at all. So what if I wanted to go into a men's shelter? What about me? You know,
I think there should be men's shelters. I don't really disagree
really,
with you.
that's interesting. I think there should be trans shelters.
I've been claiming
don't
I'm black
see
all
why they
week to try to get help from
necessarily-
YouTube, and it's not working.
I mean, I just don't see why trans shelters are necessary for people like who are trans women or something, or trans men, I suppose.
Should I be allowed in a women's shelter?
When
What
I
if
feel
there's
like,
what if there's no men's shelters? There's none.
I mean, that would be on them, depending on their facilities, depending on their resources. You know, sometimes some give hotel vouchers to men because they don't have facilities, but they can
That's
give
privilege.
vouchers, hotel
Yeah.
vouchers, and so that's something, you know, that they can do for men. I don't know specifically, but it does depend on what they have available to them.
We don't have anything like that here. No. But so it's a case of I've literally nowhere to go. So because of my gender, would I be, even though I'm male, should they force me to stay there? I should be allowed to stay there, and they can't kick me out because otherwise, you know, where will I go? Woe is me.
What if
Well,
Dankula
it's
just
not-
claimed he was
It's not
transgender?
necessarily.
What if I just claimed I was transgender? I'm a great
You're
big.
I mean, how many people are
beautiful
doing that? Can
lady.
you show any case? Like this is always a talking point that's brought up about like, oh, what if a big burly man with a beard just decides and says that he's transgender and then goes into place X? Has there ever been a case of this actually happening anywhere?
Yeah, there's even
against
a video. I can even show you a
stereotypes.
video of a guy doing it to get into a university meeting. and it works.
I mean, okay, a
Yeah,
single
but they
video of
do it
somebody
to
trolling. Like, is this like an actual issue that happens regularly?
It doesn't matter if the guy was trolling or not. Like whether he meant it or whether he was just joking, he did it and he was successful.
Well, I know how much you like basing arguments off of anecdotal videos. So
Yeah,
we'll wait on that one.
I just kind of wanted to bring up a different point.
No, hold on. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt,
Okay.
Claudia. But I
Sorry, you
absolutely
left it
have to
right
bring
out
this
there.
up.
I'm sorry.
No, I absolutely have to bring this up. I was waiting for it. Okay. This is the
Go
great
for it.
thing is seeing the Destiny chat that everybody likes to bring up. I keep saying, show me the part of the video. Show me the part of the video. And nobody ever can because I didn't say that. Our original discussion was, who is more violent at these demos all over America? And, show me the scientific study. Show me the scientific study. Well, there is no scientific study that exists for who threw the first punch at Berkeley, who threw the first punch at Davis. All we have to go on is the actual video evidence of the event and look at who is partaking and who is being the most violent.
Well, I mean, the point is that that's an unreliable way to get
video.
data.
The video
Well, because
evidence
you
of the
can
actual
cherry
event
pick
happening.
or not get all of the videos, right?
No,
Yeah, you're not seeing it from all angles.
You're literally. That's even you say not seeing it from all angles. There are literally thousands of reporters filming it from literally every angle. Like they're surrounding it and they're filming
No,
it.
I
And
mean,
you
you're
see all the
cherry
events.
picking like a couple of protests. Like you would have to look at like a large
But-
sample
but-
size
but we
of
were-
protests.
but the thing is, these were the protests we were talking about. See, the reason that it was this sample of protests is because that was the sample we were talking about. And see, pretty much all the huge demonstrations that you see all over America, they're all filmed now. We talk about them every time they happen.
I mean, you've
And
watched every single one of those, though.
I've watched a lot of them, yes, because it's basically people attacking freedom of speech. It's kind of, it's kind of my bread and butter. So yes, I do watch them. I've watched them on the left and right, and the right wingers usually turn
But
up with
can
a
you
placard
say
and
with
signs.
confidence who started the violence? Really,
I'm going
like
to
it just
guess.
doesn't seem.
I would go ahead and guess that it's the people that turn up with masks and weapons. I'm going to say it was those guys.
Okay, what about the guys who turned up with rifles and shields and all the other bullshit that the alt-right brought?
Or
to
the
the
Because
war?
that's the funny thing. And
Hold on,
that's,
hold on,
that's,
hold on.
I'm so
If
happy
the
you said that. No, please let me
the
finish this.
alt-right
The
wanted,
giant shields.
if the alt-right wanted to show up and start issues with their rifles, they would have.
Yeah,
Like,
and
the
the thing
Cowboys
is as
beat the
well,
shit out of
did
people
the
with no
alt-right do
masks.
that at first? Basically, who started wearing the masks and bringing the weapons first? And who started like bringing the shields and rifles first, right?
So do you
Did-
think
did
that the
Andy- no,
far-right
let me answer that
neo-Nazis
question.
would be
Answer the
totally
question.
pacifist? Do you think they'd be
They
pacifists
were.
if only...
They were at first. They literally were. They've done demonstrations before, and then it's look. You're sitting laughing. It's true. Literally prove me wrong.
The
They're
Cowboys
pacifists.
beat the shit out of a bunch of
neo-Nazis.
people.
They never attacked anyone at the
They
event.
just
Then
did it in New
Antifa
York.
turned
They
up.
just did it in New York. What the fuck are you talking
Okay,
about?
the
They
Cowboys
chased people
aren't
down
in
like
the
30
United
people
States.
beat the shit out of somebody.
Look, he's interrupting me because you know you're wrong. You're interrupting me because you know what point I'm about to make.
The
Right?
Proud Boys aren't
They never
neo-Nazis.
did it at first. They never did this at first. But now they are. And do you want to know why? Because the lefties kept attacking them and they went, holy shit, we need to defend ourselves. Let's militarize,
now
boys.
any-
1488, gas the kikes, my dude. Right? That's what fucking happened. See, if they weren't getting violently attacked, then they wouldn't have to defend themselves the way they are now. And now it's at the point where they're not defending themselves.
Nazi attacks before Berkeley. That never happened.
Never
There's
to
no
this
examples of
scale.
that.
Never to this scale because Antifa
So
threw
now
petrol
you
on the
moved the
fire.
goalpost. Now you're saying never to this scale. But that's not what you said
I
before.
never said it never at all happened. Not at the
I'm
demos.
sorry, I just can't take you seriously
Everyone-
though when you
I
think
I might
that
be
neo-Nazis are
video-
Well,
Let's
shit,
agree
let's
there,
just
buddy.
move on. Let's just shift the goalpost. We'll shift the goalpost to not mean demos anymore, even though that was the subject. But I'll accuse him of shifting the goalposts and tell him I don't take him seriously. Bravo. Well done.
I can't. I just can't.
I know
You're
you
telling me
can't.
they're
You can't do.
pacifists.
You
Like,
I didn't call them pacifists.
You
When
want
did
to know
I-
why
I'm
the
so, this is
alt-right and the
thing.
Proud Boys don't attack people first? because they know that there is an ire watching them. And they
The,
know
the
if
cops
any
just watched them beat the shit out of people, and the cops did nothing. What the fuck are you talking
There's
about?
videos of
nothing,
them
they're literally
ganging
on
up on a
trial.
black dude and beating the living shit out of them. Like,
There's
And then they
that.
rewatched the footage and they found out that black guy was fucking hitting them first. Funny that. So
Oh,
in
wow.
other words,
Oh,
they
so,
got attacked
like,
first.
You can rely on videos. Dankula, are you saying you can't always rely on videos?
I'll tell you what then,
Is that what
moon
you just
landing,
said?
moon landing didn't fucking happen. Backseat Berkeley didn't happen. Trump's inauguration, I've only
it
seen
was like
videos.
6
That
of
didn't
them.
happen.
It was 6 of them, like,
Guys,
bashing with fucking
for every-
batons.
For
Trump's not
every
president.
one
You've
video
only
you
seen
can
videos.
find,
You've only seen videos of Trump being president. How do you know he's president? That
It's
doesn't
really
confirm
funny that
anything.
you're all for free speech, but
God.
did you say anything about like when that reporter was arrested at Trump's inauguration because he
Which one?
happened to be standing around some violence that happened?
I literally never knew anything
Or like
about
how the
that.
Trump administration is trying to restrict protests?
Why
or
didn't
like
you
there-
talk
there are
about
like
this thing that you
17
knew nothing
There,
of?
there are like 17 different bills that were passed to make it harder to protest around America. Like it seems like you're like screaming about Antifa all the time, but you're dead silent when like the government is like doing very real things to like restrict free speech.
Rational. It's good that you said that about the protesting because that was one of the main subjects me and Kevin Logan spoke about last night. You can go back and talk on the stream, but you know, I guess I just don't talk about it, even though I literally did just last night. You can watch the video. I would tell you to watch the video, but apparently videos don't prove anything.
So what law was passed to stop people from protesting?
They aren't currently passed. They're in.
Okay.
Yeah, they're getting tabled. We get stuff like that all the time. Legislation gets tabled.
So
Usually
the
just
fact
to
that they're
gauge the public
suggesting it
reaction.
is not of concern at all, and everyone's just overreacting to this being suggested by the most powerful man in America.
When did I say that?
I mean, you're just sort of downplaying it, so I figured.
Well, no,
you know.
you were basically. It was getting presented as if this legislation was being passed. I merely stated.
No,
the
that's
fact
not what
that
they
it's being
said at all.
tabled.
If you read the articles, that's not what they say. They say this has been suggested. So
Yeah, that's what
nobody's
tabled
saying
means.
it's done.
That's what
Yeah,
tabled
but
means.
The articles all say it's being suggested. No one's saying this has been passed. This has already happened. Like, no one's saying that.
Okay then.
Why are you getting this idea that people think that it's already...
Why are you debating against a point I never made? Like, I never said that.
You
Fucking hell.
just did. Like,
No, when? I'm so happy this is recorded.
oh
because you
my
can rewatch
god.
it, and
You
can see that I
literally
didn't.
just said... Okay, fine.
It's so
I'll,
good. It's like this is Twitter and
all right,
really
fine.
it's in real time.
You never said it. I'm just making things up and imagining things. I don't know. We'll go on to the next point.
That's-
because
that-
I
that's-
give up.
That's more
fine.
than I would have ever gotten on Twitter.
I mean, fine. I agree with you. I cede that point. Let's get back to the like proper topics. This is kind of a dead end. I think. I don't think we're ever going to agree on this.
I think
sarcastic concessions still count, but it's fine. But if there's any other points, that
I mean,
anybody wants to
it's
bring
more.
up-
I just don't really care about this. It's a pointless disagreement. I don't know why you want to keep it going. Like, I know, you know, us. You know, I know we can be stubborn, but Jesus, like, just
No,
let it
no, it's
go.
just see if there's something that I didn't say. I'm going to say that I didn't say it. Like I don't think
All
there's
right.
anything wrong with that.
Okay. Congratulations. You
I see,
win.
there's no need to congratulate me.
Just let it go, dude. I just
Right,
want to
come
move
on,
to the next topic. Can we move to the
this-
next topic
come on.
already? I
Yeah,
don't
this
care about any of this. This
that's
is dumb.
fine.
Like, you said this. No, I didn't say this. No, you did say it. No, I didn't. But be sure to know I didn't say it. Like, okay,
okay.
whatever,
I
let's move
apologize. And in future, if you accuse me of saying something that I didn't say, I'll just remain silent.
That's exactly what I said. You're faithfully interpreting it.
What else would have resolved this?
I have to go pee in my gender neutral toilet. I'll be right back.
This is cancer.
Welcome to my channel.
Yeah, someone
took a
told
little
me
bit
to neck
longer than I
myself, and
thought.
after this, I think I might. I think I fucking might. Jesus fucking
that.
Christ.
Don't do that. It's good. It's good banter. But if there's anything else that you want to actually talk about,
I mean, Sinatra's gone, so he's the one who's mostly like, you know, he's mostly on board with the whole Trump policy around trans people, so I don't know
that's
if
something
he
we
really.
never actually addressed. Like, we got sidetracked
Yeah.
into the shelters things because he misrepresented what the memo was saying in the very first place. So we never really even addressed like the main point.
Yeah, true. That is true. That often happens.
This is my first time on anything like this, so
Yeah,
trying to keep it on track.
this isn't my first debate or whatever. But I'm very used to the audience, response. So
oh, holy shit! I haven't even been looking at the chat.
You should see what they say to me. Like, see even if it's just me on stream. Like, you should see the shit they say to me. And this is the people that like me, apparently.
Yeah.
I think that's most of the people's audiences, though.
Yeah, I don't know. My audience is pretty nice. There's kind of an in-joke that I have a fat voice because a bunch of anti-SJWs said I had a fat voice, so it kind of became a bit of a joke that my voice sounds fat. I don't know how a voice can be fat. Oh yeah, it's an in-joke on my channel because I get a bunch of comments from time to time saying my voice is fat. I don't understand it, but
your voice.
At the very least, they're creative with their insults.
You can hear fat.
It's okay.
Who knew? Maybe they hear me like, I don't know, they hear the calories. I can't understand. It's weird. But, that's just like the stupidest of the comments I get. Though that said, shit, that's actually like a hard bar to pass these days. I got this fucking weird thing recently. I don't even know what it was. It had random maths done in there as well, like in the middle of sentences that made no sense. It was fucking weird.
I'd rather be called fat than controlled opposition working for Israel.
Yeah, that's pretty odd.
I get that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird conspiracies with the far right, I've noticed, or the right in general, where like I guess that would be the far right though who does that. Says that to you, I presume.
Yeah.
But like they seem to think everyone's a Jew. Like they'll zoom in on anyone's nose and just be like, "Oh, it's a Jew," because the nose isn't fucking inverted, basically. Like, and it's weird. Like, unless someone has like the nose of a pug, they're a Jew. It's like, oh, okay.
Elon had said you're not fat. Selfie one.
Huh? Who said I'm not fat?
Shu in the chat said you're not.
Yeah, I'm not actually. But I mean, don't let the truth get in the way of a good narrative, and apparently all feminists are fat, so I guess I'm fat. Apparently, who knew? I didn't.
I've actually reality. I've actually never met a fat feminist.
Really?
No,
really?
And I've been confronted by them. Like they're angry. That stereotype's there. Although I think that might just be me. Like it's my presence simply that reaction.
Look, I don't mind you. I really, really dislike some of your politics. That's all I'll say is like, and I get frustrated with you because I think I'd say that much, but I wouldn't say like it's like a hatred. I don't know. Sometimes I think people get kind of like a bit, very heated, and we kind of forget that everyone's a person and it all gets a bit much.
Well, I think there's a lot of bad faith arguing going around. Like,
I mean, on both sides.
My
sure,
boy Rational here, I talk about this all the time. He'll just screenshot tweets and then put it out without out of context. Doesn't matter. Just screenshot it, throws it out there, and it's why Kevin Logan blocked me yesterday, because like 100 people were like, "Dude, that's just an out of context tweet. You're being an asshole." But you just throw it out there, and it's a very disingenuous way to share a conversation.
Kevin is like, he does get easily triggered like on Twitter. Like he does get mad online, but Kevin does actually come to the table. Like he's appeared on like streams with me and all that before. Like that's why I like Kev, because he actually does come to the table. Like I realize that everyone, whenever I say like let's have a debate, like let's chat, let's fucking hash this out. I was doing it today to the fucking owners of that racism dog account.
Yeah.
The whole like debate me. I am the mighty dank version of Ben Shapiro. Facts don't care about your feelings. praise Israel. but yeah, I don't know. It's just like I like it when conversations happen because like most of the, see the time when I'll turn around and say like debate me to someone is when they've said something where I go, there is literally no way for you to defend that argument.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is the only time I say debate me is when I know it's going to be an easy win for me. Just put
What's
that
today about? Should I be insulted?
no. Yeah, this is
You're just easy. It's all right.
yeah.
Oh, you fuck off! I'm not easy.
So that's
Also, that's
this
banter,
bit's
by the
involved.
way. I'm not being serious.
That's
A lot
not
of the
what she
time,
said.
people misinterpret my
That's-
humor and think I'm like actually like mad.
Goddamn feminist with her fat voice.
Feminist voice.
Meet me in the
anyway, I
intellectual
feel like it
coliseum.
kind of got skipped over. We didn't give Rational Disconnect the chance to respond to the sort of, I guess, accusation that he takes things out of context when he tweets pictures
Yeah,
of.
I'd like to hear
I'm
that.
not sure exactly which part you thought I was taking out of context. I'm looking up.
Is there a specific example you have,
yeah,
Sinatra? Because that would be helpful if you'd be a bit more specific, if you can.
You tweeted out, this is just for me, me saying LMFAO. You called me a gamer who says gamers are oppressed, and then a response to a tweet. You don't show the response before it or the response after it, which is the definition of out of context, and say, since when does somebody being trans entitle them to anything? Knowing full well that what I was saying there is that just because you're trans, you don't deserve extra entitlements. That's out of context and it's dishonest.
Well, so I'm looking the tweet that you were responding to. This is a means to divest trans people from government jobs and benefits that they are entitled to.
Okay.
So if they have equal protections, they would be
And out of
entitled to those
context,
things
can I
like
just
everybody else.
add, doesn't
So I
mean
don't know if
didn't
that's really out of context.
out
Also,
of context
it was like
doesn't
clearly a
mean
joke.
everything. It means that the context of the situation like completely changes the meaning of what you're saying. And I don't think that really applies, just in my opinion.
Because he took the same, it's the same screenshot. I think it's
Kevin Logan took the other. I think he used my screenshot.
But then you just added me saying LMFAO to it, sharing the article. And then you said, I've never bantered about Gamergate ever. So that's dishonest and it's out of context.
Okay, I'm sorry that I made a joke to imply that you think gamers are an oppressed minority.
Do you not see, though, how that can be? Someone go, that's out of context, because it is, and it's a dishonest thing.
I wouldn't say it's
because the whole point
like,
of the message was you saying he says gamers are oppressed, but trans people aren't.
Was you laughing about trans people losing rights and then saying that
aren't losing
trans
rights.
people aren't
just understand that and move forward. Trans people aren't losing rights. We need to understand that and move forward.
The main thrust of the tweet was to point out those things that you were saying. Did I do it in a comical way? Yes, I did.
No,
so,
I don't think you were trying to be comical. I think you were trying to say, wow, look at this asshole.
Just guessing his intentions. You can't.
I am guessing the intentions based on the context.
You can't say with full confidence you know exactly what he intended to do at the time, and it's just not an argument I think will go anywhere, because YouTube will just end up arguing over what he intended to do there, and that's not really an argument that goes anywhere, because he'll say, no, I was trying to be funny, and you would say, no, you were trying to misrepresent me and being malicious, and it'll never get anywhere.
I believe it is malicious, because when you're trying to compare me not saying that gamers are oppressed and then going, lol, but he thinks trans are oppressed, it's you're trying to make two different distinctions with something I didn't say to something that I didn't say.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, I just mean I don't see this argument going anywhere, because you're basically saying, well, you did this maliciously to misrepresent me, and she's saying, I mean, oh fuck, I was reading the chat scrolling by. He's saying, no, I did it to be funny. And then, you know, you're not going to agree on that, because
I mean, to make the main comment on you saying, since when does
funny, either way, neither of you can prove anything, so you're just going to end up disagreeing ad infinitum. Like, that's what I mean, is like,
No,
you're just
okay.
going to keep,
Yeah, I mean,
like,
the
there's no
things
point
that
in
we
agreeing on
the
that.
things that we continued to argue about was your stance on trans rights. So like
Trans
clearly
have
that was
all the rights everybody else does.
thrust. Well, except when they're discriminated against in specific ways, and laws that are created to protect them from that are taken away.
So laws that are created to protect people from discrimination is equal rights to everyone else who doesn't have laws to protect them from discrimination.
They do have
Let me
the
screenshot
rights.
this. Let me
But
screenshot
what
this.
If trans
discrimination
people are
do cis
discriminated
people
against in a
face?
specific
Again.
way, that's
Let
to
me-
give them the same rights as everybody else.
Before we
'Cause
start running
cis
down this
people aren't
road,
discriminated against in the same way.
before we start running down this road, I'm going to point this out because whether it was a joke or not, it's dishonest and you didn't frame it as a joke. When you think gamers are oppressed minority, but you laugh at people who are about to lose their rights, white power symbol.
I mean, does that white power symbol not imply that it's a joke?
No,
Like, I think that reads as a joke, and maybe I'm just I don't know. Maybe I'm extremely tone deaf on that, but I think that reads as like an obvious joke.
Again, I
That's-
just feel like it's going to be a difference in the sense of humor, and you're never going to be able to resolve whether or not he intended to be malicious here or not, because that's not something you can prove either way. He can't prove he was joking. He's saying he was joking. He seems to be
that's
sticking.
fine.
I
can
mean,
say-
like, I could remove the gamer joke and just say
it's fine.
Yeah.
laugh
You
at
can
trans.
say it's a joke, but I
you
think
don't
that's
believe
just a
he was
lazy-
joking.
I
I
think
get
that's
you don't
just a
believe
lazy
him.
way
There's
to
no
move
point
around a
arguing about
dishonest
this.
Guys,
It's just
is it
a lazy
okay?
There's no point arguing about this because he can't prove it, you can't disprove it, so there's no point. It's just going to keep
It's
going.
just a lazy way to move around a dishonest tweet. And if you want to leave it alone, that's fine.
Like,
But I'm
I
still
mean,
genuinely curious.
keep
what
going with
rights
this. I
are
just
trans
think it's
people
going to go
losing?
on forever, and you're never going to reach a conclusion because, you know, he's saying he was being funny, you saying he's being malicious, and you're never going to agree. So just,
I didn't say he's
think it's
malicious.
better
I
to
said
move
he's
on.
being dishonest.
Dishonest. Okay, dishonest, same thing, really. Like, maliciously dishonest, it seems. Like,
No, I
on purpose.
chose the word dishonest and not malicious for a reason.
All right, fair enough. But again, dishonest is it's ascribing an intention to it. And what I'm saying is you can't prove what his intentions were. He can't prove what his intentions were. That's why it just kind of is a little pointless.
Okay, so what rights are trans people losing?
See, before we move on with this, is it okay if I read through some super chats?
Yeah,
Sorry.
slam
yeah.
through those super
But also,
Let the
I'm
cancer
also,
begin.
yeah, I'm going to say I haven't even looked at these yet.
Just waiting
and,
for the super chats.
And Rational Claudia, I apologise in advance. I haven't looked at them, but I'm going to apologise.
Yeah, they're not not
Friedrich
nice.
Marx, legit question. Why are you getting a-hole's opinion on anything? Women are slow and mentally handicapped. Same applies to feminine males.
That's true.
Iron Snarkus, press 1 to bring back bullying. Chat, you know what to do. Kodiak, yes, a city Aussie, they have brain issues. Inferno Chill, what about, so you're saying, piss off NPCs? Hey Dude 77, I think the only answer is to immediately work on trans shelters. No matter what shelter you put the trans person in, it's going to bother someone else in an environment where everybody needs to be safe. And yeah, I support trans shelters. Pop TV, Sinatra makes my pee-pee hard.
Nice.
Robert Chalk, 2 scoops, 2 terms, 2 genders. Clean your gulag bunks and wash your feminine penises, buckos. Commissar Peterson is calling roll. Frank Castle, 498, feminists shut down the only men's shelter in the US. I don't know if that's true. Hey Dude 77, RantingF, I think you answered the question with the hotel vouchers. Give trans people hotel vouchers.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
It depends though. I think
Not all of them do it, and
Yeah.
I mean it depends as well. Like, again, it depends on the situation. You know, if there were people who had issues with the trans person in a trans shelter, abuse shelter, then you know I could understand if they just separated the trans person for everyone's sake, because I'm sure the trans person wouldn't be comfortable being around people who have a problem with them and think they're a man. So
that's yeah.
anyway, sorry, I'll let you continue
No,
your
no,
hustle.
No, that's that was fine. That was a good point. Inferno Chill, that reporter was throwing shit. Try again. I think I accentuated that word wrong. I don't know if a reporter was literally throwing shit.
I was
I think I might have accentuated that wrong.
What reporter were
And
they
the
talking about?
one that got arrested at I don't know if it was the Trump inauguration or.
I'll see if I can pull it up. Hold on.
Yeah. You fact check that. What have you done? The amazing critter man lying about someone to that someone and laughing at them when they don't believe you is peak woke. Adam Blythe, I get here late and what do I hear? A fellow Australian embarrassing the rest of us. Milk my man tits. Female NPC.exe. Error. Beep boop beep. Friedrich Marx. This is a typical Australian woman. Leonis Drafer, just to trigger you, my count, you are controlled by Israel. Thanks. T-Bone, what do you think about the protest marches in Glasgow for equal pay for similar jobs? Gardening, care work, and refuse collection. Yeah, we have equal pay. The wage gap's a fucking myth. Reese Hogue, since women are so stupid, why did we let them vote? So, sorry, I just had to get through that, but we may continue. I don't know if you've got the facts on that reporter.
I'm trying to find it. Everyone's just saying he was arrested. So either he didn't do anything or they're not reporting on what he did.
If he wasn't,
from what I can try and look it up too. From what I remember reading was that he was just in the vicinity and he witnessed people throwing stuff and he was then picked up.
This kind of happens a bit at protests where if you're near the violence, they seem to just arrest everyone in the crowd. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever been to a protest, but I feel like the people who are sort of veterans in that scene, or like if they go to protests a bit, they might tell you, hey, you know, be careful if violence breaks out. If you're near it, you can get arrested, just like because they'll assume you're part of it if you're near the people doing it. Which kind of like makes sense when you think about it. Like if you were around people who were committing a robbery, like you'd probably get questioned by police or something. So
he wasn't arrested for being a journalist, probably.
If he didn't do anything,
I mean, that would be hard to say that he was like specifically, like the cops said, like, "Oh, you're a journalist, so we're going to arrest you."
Okay,
that would be really fucking worrying.
From this,
Claudia's protest old F word. She was at Stonewall. She was the wall. No, I don't really go to too many of them. It's all a bit kind of loud for me, and like there's just a lot of people, and I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. It's a bit too intense for me sometimes, and depends what it's about.
Maybe a mean-tailed feature accidentally walked into an anti-Trump rally. That was fun.
Yeah.
Nothing ever happens here, and I don't want to travel to go anywhere, so.
Yeah, there's protests and all, but like some of them are like counter protests to the Reclaim Australia rallies and shit. And while I agree with countering them, I don't really want to be around that sort of thing because it probably gets violent, like, you know, depending on the crowd. But there's a lot of anger there, so like on both sides. So it just seems like it could easily get violent and get out of hand.
That's the thing that me and Kevin were talking about. Like, see, in the UK, like you do have the right to protest, but the thing that's weird is it's like you need to actually get permission from the police, and they say where you're allowed to do it and how long for. But there's parts of that I find reasonable. Like, for example, you're not allowed to block main roads. Like, you know, see if it's a main place that emergency vehicles like ambulances have to go through, you're not allowed to block it, which is fair. That's completely fair. But I'm worried that, see, because of all the violence that happens at protests now, like back in the day, you used to have just people waving signs, they made their point, and then they left. And that was it, and which is good. And you even had counter-protesters, you know, maybe there was some harsh words exchanged, but that was the extent of it. I'm worried that the violence...
necessarily true. Sorry to cut you off. I disagree that protests used to like be generally peaceful. I think protests have in history been very violent.
They have, but like, see, in the Western world, it's never been violent to this extent. Now it's a case of see how if it's a case of, you know, or a right-wing rally's taking place, I just immediately go, okay, there's going to be fighting. Like, there's going to be fighting. But my main point is I'm worried that the violence getting worse and worse, especially with, the whole Heather Heyer situation and all that as well, is that the police just overall ban protesting, and they'll use, but it's violent as a justification for it, and the right to protest should absolutely be a protected right. Like, see how, for example, the People's Vote. I don't agree with having a second Brexit referendum at all, but those people completely have the right to protest and ask for that. But see the fact that there was no violence, there was none of that stuff. They turned up, they made their point, they went home. That's a good protest. That's the way
I think
protest should
the
go.
difference is that sometimes when you see these far right groups protesting, like, because the moderate right doesn't seem to protest all that much, at least not in my experience. Like, I don't know. The only one I can think about was this one where they were attacking our former Prime Minister Julia Gillard, and I know about this because there was a controversy because one of them held a sign that said something like "ditch the bitch," and the opposition leader was standing next to the sign, so there was a controversy about him like standing next to signs that
Real quick,
were calling her a bitch.
What do you mean they were attacking? Like physically, like beating the shit out of them?
No, I mean in the like they weren't attacking her,
they were just
like
swarming
physically.
him and being annoying.
Hmm?
They were just kind of like swarming him and being annoying.
Sorry, what were you talking about? The protest. I'm getting a bit confused because
you said that they attacked him. I meant how?
Oh, no. The media and some people got mad at him for that. They didn't physically assault him or something because of that. Yeah. He was the opposition
word attacking,
leader.
so I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I wasn't meaning physically. I mean, like, they said things. Like, they took issue with this. That's it, pretty much.
Okay. I want to stick a pin in that, and we'll come back to that.
All right, so if I use the word attacking, I can mean in a verbal sense, in a physical sense, depending on the context. And, if you're unsure, just get me to clarify. And because I didn't know what you meant, because I didn't know if I said that the right was attacking Julia Gillard or if I was if it was the other bit. So I was just like, oh shit, where did I use that word?
Right, go ahead.
But yeah, no, I don't mean anyone, like, I don't mean the right was attacking her physically either. They were just opposing her as the Prime Minister. But that was relatively peaceful to my knowledge. I don't know of any violence at that, but there are right-wing protests that I think go down fine. It's just the ones where, like, Reclaim Australia is a particularly nasty group, and they tend to get a lot of violence because, they're just a very nasty group. And then there are also the anarchist types, I guess, who some of them do want to, like, are accelerationist, and they want the protesters to get hurt by police so that then they'll turn against the authorities, depending on what sort of group they are. There's not all anarchists, but like some of them do stir up shit with the cops to try and get people hurt so that they'll turn against the establishment. At least that's the logic there with some of them.
We've got people like that here that antagonize you on purpose. They'll basically go up and they'll cock their hand back as if they throw a punch, but they won't do it because basically they're hoping that you react and hit them first so that you're the one that gets arrested. Like, we've got people that do that here. Yeah. United Against Fascism, that's the group that does it. I could even tell you all their names. They get bussed around to all over the country to all the different protests.
Who could be paying for that?
I wonder.
I'm kind of happy seeing the chat, to be honest, because they don't seem to be able to attack me for my points, so they must be doing well, because the only thing they're attacking is my voice, my cats, me being, I guess, fat and ugly or whatever. So considering I feel like if I got something wrong, they'd have a lot more to say than like, this woman sucks, she's bad, and they'd actually be able to point to something I said that was incorrect. So congratulations, guys.
Don't let the chat get to you.
You'd do a lot. If I was wrong about things, you'd be able to point out the ways in which I fucked it up, my arguments up, instead of constantly just saying I'm ugly, I have cats, whatever. Because, yeah, it just makes me have less faith in this side of politics where people go, oh, okay, so you don't actually have any points.
Right, does he just see how the best thing to do with the chat is have a laugh along with it. Like most of the way we operate is like people say really, really horrific
I'm
things
just
to me.
doing it to bother them, to be honest. I just kind of want to set them off because it's fun.
Yeah, the chat has kind of blew up a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I just like seeing it blow up. It's pretty fun. Because they were saying they were bored, so I was sort of like, this is going to be fun.
If you consider that attacking, what's her name again? I'm sorry, female lady.
What, me?
Yeah, you
Female
just
lady.
her.
Okay, yep. What's up?
If you consider that to be attacking her, even if it's verbal or physical, what would you consider the mob movement, the leftist mob movement in America? Would you consider that going too far?
Wait, I wasn't really. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Like, because when I say attack doesn't mean going too far. I like. Do you mean Julia Gillard? I think it wasn't that I care if somebody holds a sign saying that she's a bitch. I think that's not a nice thing to say, but for an opposition leader to stand right in front of that sign and start giving his spiel and stuff, that's pretty unprofessional. Like, it'd be the same if a left-wing person stood in front of a sign saying, oh, it's not Malcolm Turnbull anymore, ScoMo is a bastard or whatever. That would be unprofessional. So it's more unprofessional as far as I'm concerned.
But do you think the mobs have gone too far?
Mobs? What mobs?
The right-wing talking point after the cabinet
no, I'm
hearing?
genuinely curious. Do you consider that...
Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, the mobs
By
who
mobs?
go disrupt
Okay.
people while they eat, go to their house, that kind of stuff. Do you think that's going too far?
Well, I mean, I don't know. You're going to have to be specific. I don't know what you're talking about. You're just saying, do you think the mobs are going too far? You haven't quantified.
I should have assumed that you weren't up in American politics. But the groups of people who who are energized by the Maxine Waters, you go out, you create a crowd, you cause a scene, that go to bother people while they eat, go to their house, go to their job, stand around, scream, yell at them, get them kicked out of restaurants, cause a big fucking scene. Do you think that is
like the conservatives who, yeah. Well, I kind of have some mixed feelings on it. Like, in a way, it is a legitimate form of protest, but I'm not sure it's productive.
The thing
and
is,
it depends. These are public officials, a lot of them, and
even if you are a public official, you have the right to a private life. Everyone has the right to a private life.
Houses, but if they're like on the hill,
no, not to people's houses.
I think see if they're out in public with their family and stuff like that, I feel leave them alone, leave them the hell alone. See if they're at a political event, giving a speech, or they're doing a Q&A or a talk at a university, then that's what those events are for. That's fair game.
Like when the guy went to the theater, for example, like, I don't think the crowd did the wrong thing by protesting, like by yelling at him necessarily. He said this is what free speech is, to his kids that day. So, like, I don't really know. It depends on the context, I suppose. Like, I guess as morally, like, if you saw a politician walking around with two small children or whatever, I think that it's not classy to attack them in that situation. I think that's sort of,
I think you
not
shouldn't
really the
approach them
time.
at all. I think, like, see one thing that I actually have a worry for is, like, see if I'm out in public and I'm like with my fiance, and I've had it people like crossing the street looking at me, but like luckily every single time it's because they want to meet me. But there has been a few times where I'm sort of like, basically, if this guy doesn't change the expression on his face when he gets closer, I'm throwing a fucking punch. Man, like, I'm just.
Like, that's wrong, but I would like to make the distinction that there's a difference between you as like a private person and a public official that's a member of government who a responsibility is to hear his constituents. So, like, when they're in those capacities, like, that seems like a valid form of protest.
But not when they're sitting having dinner with their family. Not when they're sitting having dinner with their family. Not if they're like walking through the street out shopping with their wife. Not there. There's methods for doing that.
There were camera crews filming Brett Kavanaugh's house for hours on end when this stuff was happening.
I kind of have an issue with.
Well,
the media
that happens in other contexts too, doesn't it? That the media,
I have an issue.
There's like a high profile, like,
with any of them.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. Sorry.
No, it was like Robin Williams when
Oh
it
no,
said
I meant
Rob,
Rational.
oh, sorry.
I cut Rational off, and then I
Oh,
was like,
sorry.
sorry.
That's fine. That's what happens when you have 4 people all on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that like gets in. I feel like that happens a lot with like other things, like celebrities, like paparazzi, like stake out their houses and shit like that. So I mean, that kind of stuff is scummy, but it's not like it's only happening to like politicians in these contexts. So
Not just right wingers either. It just seems to be a general
I
issue
never
with the
said it
media
was right
doing that
wingers.
shit.
I never
so-
said. I just said. Do you
Oh
think
yeah,
it's too
I'm
far?
just making that clear. Like, I mean, NPC.exe is crashed.
I mean, when you
Okay.
use the word mob, okay, we assume that you're implying just like leftist people going after.
Well, mob does not necessarily mean.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, just that's the way
I don't think anybody should be doing it.
used.
Like no, right wing or left wing are like irrelevant. No one should be doing that shit. Like imagine me following, George Soros around everywhere. And in fact, no, I'm not doing that. His security would fucking shoot me dead. But you know what I mean. Like it just shouldn't. Like even though
Yeah.
it happens to celebrities, and even though for some reason people sort of accept that, oh, you're a celebrity, this is what you asked for. Like, no, fuck that.
Well,
like,
well, I
fucking
mean,
you've got
like,
a right
if-
to privacy.
If they
people
become
say,
like a member of like the
Dankula aren't
state
private
government, then that's a little bit different, though.
No, you've still got. It doesn't matter like what position you hold in government. Like a private life is a human right. That is a human right.
I mean,
and
I
it shouldn't
tend
matter
to
what
agree, but
position
I
you
also
hold.
agree with the right to protest and the right to free speech in that way. And you agree with protest as well. So I guess it just is about what the boundaries are. And I guess on a moral level, like on a legal level, I don't think there should be any sort of problems with them protesting. But if somebody does like go out walking around or something, a shopping center will say, or a mall, as some of the Americans will say.
You mean the correct way?
I
Yeah,
didn't realize anyone said that differently.
a mall.
Well,
But
it's
like
not
if they
mal, it's mall.
mall, I don't know. I just like saying things with like a bad American accent. But yeah, if they're walking around or something, and if people see them and go, "Hey, I dislike your politics," basically, like I mean, like I can't imagine it being worded that way. But like if they're like, "Hey, you've done this, I don't like it, da da da," I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But at the same time, I guess like if there's contextual things that would make me hesitate to do it. Like if they were walking around with small children, I wouldn't want to scare the children or anything. So I think ethically in that way, think of the chillins.
Well, I agree with that.
That's, yeah.
Taking part in this.
Well,
But
Rational disconnect. Do you agree or disagree? Any thoughts?
No,
You've
yeah,
been a bit
I don't
quiet.
know if I have
I'm
anything
kind
more
of
to add to
talking.
that. Yeah, I agree with that.
But that is
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that happens. People, I can't. Fuck.
it happened to Jacob Rees-Mogg, and
That's who it
written,
was,
like,
thank you.
the guy. This was so scummy. Like even though he's a Tory, he's basically see how like a posh Republican is probably the best way to describe it, so that everyone gets it. Like this guy literally leaned down to his 2 very young children and went, "Your daddy is a very, very bad man." Like
Yeah,
that,
that's
and it's-
bad.
Oh, shit.
That's
yeah,
wrong. I don't agree with
that was
that at
fucked
all.
up.
That's fucked up. Yeah, look,
what
we
would
can all
you-
agree on that. That's fucked. Don't
What
do
would
that.
you consider the line between protest and harassment to be?
I guess as like if you're not hurting people, then like, and that can I guess extend to emotional hurt, depending. Because I mean, I don't want to make it sound like if you just hurt a politician's feelings, then that should be banned. But like, if you're like going as far as like distressing small children or something like that, like saying to a small child, "Your dad's a bad man," that's fucked. You shouldn't like use somebody's children like that. That's messed up. But like, yeah, it does depend, I guess. There is a line, but it's also like I feel like it's going to be a bit arbitrary and it's hard to define.
Yeah, like I don't feel comfortable saying that like if you're in a restaurant with a politician, like you can't say like I disagree with your politics or something like that.
But that's not what happens.
No, I know. I'm saying something like that. I think clearly there wouldn't be anything wrong with that. And like,
Yeah, and don't approach them at all as a rule would mean that saying I don't agree with your politics because XYZ is now like banned. If you banned all like sort of,
there are mediums for you to go through though to do that. Like, you know, you can email them, you could protest at one of the events that they're holding.
but if you happen to see them like in a place you happen to be in, like I don't think there's a problem with using that right you have to free speech to say something.
But the thing is, you need to understand that there will literally be hundreds of thousands of people thinking the exact same way as you. So even if you go, oh well, I only did it once, like that. What if there's another 60 people that do it to them that day? Like that's a case of, you know, it's not harassment like from one single person. You know, it's like multiple occasions just from different individuals, and that can really get to a person after a while.
I guess, but that's why I feel like politicians kind of need to be really thick-skinned people.
But that's the thing is, we could say that as well about trans people and homosexuals. Like, fuck it, just be thick-skinned.
Really,
you need to be.
Because you don't choose to be trans, you don't choose to be homosexual, but you choose to be a politician. So it's not the same.
To have that responsibility.
Well,
they're bringing on a type of responsibility when they go for that position.
That's not fair, though. That's really not fair.
Well, I mean, that's what comes with having that power, though.
But you know what? You know why I don't think it would be fair is because it's not the same for both sides. Mm-hmm. It's not. If that was if a crowd of young white males was going to Maxine Waters and going, "You low IQ fuck."
Look, something like that happened in Australia.
That is like, what about the Tea Party protests?
And that was
where they're like calling Obama like a monkey and shit like that, and they were all over the place.
But they weren't in the same
this happened
establishment.
To a politician in Australia, actually, and the people got away with it, and nothing happened. So, like, you know, this was just something that got shamed. I'm trying to find it. Sam Dastyari.
It would be branded immediately as racist and harassment, but when you do it to Ted Cruz, it's brave and stunning.
Okay, I'm finding the link, but this happened in Australia. This, like, I know the whole world's not America, but this happens. Like, this man, Sam Dastyari, he's sort of on the Australia's left, the Labor Party, and he was confronted at a pub by some guys who made fun of him for being Muslim and started saying some nasty things and harassing him, and, you know... So this does happen to the left as well. I'm posting it in chat. Hope that's allowed. Oh, wait, no. Because
it's immediately called white nationalism. It's immediately called white nationalism by a far right group. I don't know who the group was. It might have been a right leaning group.
Yeah, I mean,
the fact of the matter is,
you don't know the group because they're an Australian group, mate. Like that's why you don't know the group. Like,
it wasn't called protesting, though. It wasn't called protesting.
And they are a far right group. Okay, it doesn't mean that all people on the right are bad. And conceding that these people happen to be right wing doesn't mean you have to say the right is bad. But these people, yes, happen to be right wingers, and yes, are also far right racist types. So
my point is, you're not calling it protesting. You're calling it harassment from a far right group.
Because he started saying something that really crossed the line. Like it's
what is crossing the line?
Difference. I mean, it depends. I honestly think the person telling the child your dad's a bad person is harassing the child. So, well, they're harassing the family. So I would agree that that's harassment.
Is the line screaming at people while they eat, or is it talking to someone's kids? Is the line going to someone's house, or is it making comments about their skin color?
Well, I don't agree with where the line going to someone's house either. But again, the line isn't something clearly defined and easy because this isn't a simple situation and human interactions are very complicated.
Okay.
I don't know what you want really here because I don't think I can point to some clear line in the sand and go, that's exactly where the line is and that's exactly the line that never gets crossed. And it's also, it depends if we're talking legally or morally because those are two different things. This is a lot more nuanced, and I know the chat's sort of going nuts at me for saying it depends and saying gold posts or whatever, but I really do think this is a very complicated topic and that I can't really give you one clear rule because there's going to be exceptions to the rule. Like with going and approaching somebody when they're with their family, there could be exceptions where it's more appropriate than others. You know, it depends on the context and
it just
the
seems
situation.
A little hypocritical. It seems a tad bit hypocritical.
How so? I conceded
this guy
that the
gets
leftist fucked up who spoke to the child. He got hounded for that. I saw people on the left and the right going after him and thinking he was acting like a shithead. I've conceded he was acting like a shithead. I admitted that the people on the left have fucked this up as well. So I don't think that I am being a hypocrite.
No, I didn't say you were being a hypocrite. I said the idea of all of this happening is hypocritical because major leftist players in the game, the Clintons, the Maxine Waters, all them, they directly call for this kind of stuff. They directly call for, what's the big buzzword? Incivility. But whenever it happens to be coming from someone on the right wing, it is immediately condemned, labeled harassment, saying this comes from far-right groups. These are neo-Nazis. This is terrible.
But what are you saying? There are neo-Nazis that are doing it? Like, on these far-right groups, these far-right groups aren't far-right? Like, I don't understand your issue with that side of it. And also, I do think a lot of this behavior that goes too far on the left does get criticized. You know, I don't think you're being honest here when you're putting everyone on the left into this big category where as if we all totally agree in lockstep on everything, when I'm on the left and I just told you I don't agree with telling somebody's child, oh, your dad's a bad person. So, you know, I don't understand your point. You're taking your idea.
Are you actively calling for incivility?
What?
Are you actively calling for incivility?
No.
Then I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking to you,
about
but
your
I'm not
idea
talking about
of the left and not like actually what is related to me or anything we can talk about, where I feel like there's no point arguing about things we essentially agree on, but you're like, okay, but the left does this in general and is hypocritical. It's like, okay, well, that's just your feelings. You're arguing your feelings.
Saying those things, but you're putting those onto like everybody that's on the left.
You two happen to have agreed to this conversation, so yes, I'm bringing these to you.
Okay, well, we said that we don't agree with some of those things.
Okay, so you can condemn that then, right?
I can condemn saying stuff to kids.
No. Can you condemn the idea of these large leftist politicians who claimed they are harassed, calling for harassment?
I mean, I don't think they're calling for harassment because it really depends on what
they literally. What was the famous tweet that went around that was like in restaurants? Like one guy even said in their homes, and he was an ex-senator and everything as well.
I mean, ex-senator, so I don't know. Like, I don't agree with going to their homes, but if they're in public, I think it's fair enough that they have to respond to criticism.
But what if it gets to the point where every time they go out, they're confronted hundreds of times a day, like to the point where they can't go out, they can't have a life. Like that will have a severe psychological effect on a person. Like I literally can't leave my house. I literally can't leave my house.
People like.
Well, just because it already happens doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean just because it already happens doesn't mean it's not a bad thing. Like that's a horrible thing for someone to go through.
I think maybe it's going too far, but again, it's sort of like it depends what they're responsible for. If they're responsible for cutting funds to things that are probably going to kill you, can you tell that person they're not morally justified in doing everything in their power to stop it?
Well, what about the healthcare cuts? And everyone quits.
Like Obamacare got cut, and there are so many people left without anything that aren't going to get the treatment that they were getting, that are being kicked off their insurance policies. Like, I don't see how you're not understanding that some people are going to be really fucking upset, and they're going to feel like, you know, they want this to be fixed because the Trump administration didn't replace this with anything. And so honestly, morally, it's a little more complicated than, oh, this person wants to go out with their family. Okay, but maybe this person also wanted that and now can't do that because they're dying because they can't get medicine anymore. Like, what about that sort of issue?
Well,
like,
you can't be
it's not
a medical service.
Yeah, and it's not a good thing to go, this person's losing their rights, so I'm going to be a hypocrite and also take your rights away. Like, that's...
I mean, do you want them to, like, nicely ask to, like, oh, please, take my right away?
There are measures for them to do that. There are so many methods for them to do that. Like, I got to have a sit down with one of my MPs.
Start making it hard for them to be having these policies. If you start making it easy for them in the places that only they're expecting, dissent, I don't know if you're really going to get the same response. And these people are desperate, and especially after having their healthcare cut.
You get better answers. I've done university talks. Well, like I did one in Glasgow University where 80% at least of the crowd hated me. They hated me, right? And they basically, I got all kinds of manners of questions thrown at me. That was the medium with which to do it. Like there are methods to contact me if you want to contact me on Twitter and all that as well. But see if it got to the point where I was getting approached 100 times a day by angry people.
I disagree with that because you're a private citizen. These people have the power to affect policy. You don't.
But this is the thing: is there are people that think that because I'm a UKIP member and I am like a YouTuber, that suddenly means that I am either a political figure or a public figure. So there are.
I mean, you are a public figure, but there's also limits to that because you don't have the authority to completely change healthcare. Where the Republicans, they took away what was there for people's healthcare. Now they've got nothing, and a lot of these people are They took away Obamacare.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, that's the thing is now that Obamacare isn't a thing, there are people who don't have coverage who used to, and I honestly can understand why those people would take their protest to any means necessary because within reason, why they'd start going to this person's house or, public places they know this person's going to be because these people are desperate. I feel like this is what happens when you force people into a desperate situation. Like, America's a very interesting case as well because it's not like my country where, like, the right wing, I think if they wanted to here, they probably would take away healthcare. But, if your healthcare and life, your ability to live is being taken away by somebody, I can understand why you'd feel justified.
Right now, people aren't doing this simply over someone's right to live or anything like that. Loads of people are doing it simply because I hate you, fuck you. Like, they're not even going up to them with a point. They're not going, excuse me, Senator, I have some concerns. They're literally walking up and just cursing at them. Like,
yeah,
that's what
even so, like, if you're someone whose livelihood has been taken away or someone who your healthcare's been taken away, you might not be so calm about it, and I can understand people being angry.
Again, how are they supposed to bring about any change if they're just walking up going, fuck you, I hate you, and how's the Senator going to go, I should change healthcare? They've not said anything. Like, all they're doing is swearing at them.
I didn't say it's completely logical behavior or that it's going to have a productive outcome. I just said that people are angry.
Even though people are doing that,
break down.
Right. See, that even though people are confronting senators and everything and harassing them and all this type of stuff as well, has it ever brought change?
I mean, didn't similar things happen during the civil rights movement?
No, not to this extent.
I mean, I don't know if
civil rights
movement, but I'm just saying I can understand, why people who their healthcare is under threat, why they would feel threatened.
This isn't healthcare. Like, we don't know what half of these people want. Half of these people are turning up to people just because they're like, fuck you, I hate you. They're not coming up and making points. They're not saying, excuse me, Senator, can you fix healthcare?
Yeah, but with the controversial bullshit that Trump says on a regular basis, it could be any number of things, honestly.
Yeah, it's hard to put down a single thing. There's some new controversy that's happening like every single day.
Well, then they should say
it depends what you consider. Exactly. It depends what you consider a controversy or whatever the media blows up to be a controversy. Because these are two different things.
Fake news media.
Donald Trump had 2 scoops of ice cream.
That was considered a fucking controversy.
Yes.
Obama wearing a brown suit was considered a controversy. So, I mean, that stuff goes both ways.
Michelle Obama's arms were fucking...
That's not an Obama or a Trump thing. That's not an Obama or a Trump thing. That's just the media being fucking stupid. Like, fucking... But can I catch up on Super Chats, guys?
Okay. I might grab a glass of water or something. I'll be back.
Grab a wine. Grab a wee sherry.
Yeah, well, I mean, I am Wine Aunt after all. At least that's the nickname I was given. And I actually meant to change my Twitter name, so now I've been reminded. Anyway, to your Super Chats.
No worries. Nick KCIN, hey, big fan, brother. Liebchen Baba Booey, Party Arm CV. You missed my $9.99 chat dank. How could you? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Reese Hogue, why do women love flooding their home country with low IQ third worlders that destroy nations? Again, why are they allowed to vote? Gavin Lemon, insulting the chat, that's a big F-wording mistake. Reese Hogue, your garbage points that you made have been debunked 100 times over, plus women can't argue without using fuels. Fuck me. Friedrich Marx, when you get one thing correct, then we debate you. I love raping minors. Fuck it. You motherfucker. I can't believe I fell for that, man. Fucking hell. Are you joking? That's like fucking day one stuff as well, and I fucking fell for that.
Alt F4. Who fucking noob.
Fucking hell, man. Glaswegian BR, hashtag release batches nudes. Kodiak Daystari was also taking money from communist China. Dastyari, I don't know who that is, sorry. Reese Hogue, Rational looks like he got his lunch money taken a lot when he was a kid. Guy thinks wearing a pleather jacket and holding a picket sign will get him a BJ. I don't know, have you ever got your dick sucked?
That has gotten me a BJ on many occasions, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Well,
Good for you.
Did everybody get a BJ because it was communism? Anyway,
based on the needs.
The needs of the many. Daniel MacArthur, the left and right are both full of asshats. Both sides do it. That's true. Reese Hogue, oy vey, ma Obongo care. The amazing critter man, Obamacare was not taken away. It just wasn't. I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't.
No, the ACA still exists, and even if the ACA didn't, there's Medicaid and Medicare.
All right. Dude Guy McPants, Obamacare is still law. Nick KCIN, if you want better healthcare, make it less regulated. Regulations are why shit is so expensive. There's private medical fields that have cut their costs in half or more. Paul Cornelius, all Democrats support abortion. Is it right not to be so calm towards those politicians who support literal child murder? Ooh, that's a good point. Where the fuck am I? Yeah. Agent Pepe, FBI. Claudia, if you admit that it's not productive, then why are you defending it just because it's the left doing it? Also, Obamacare is still law, dummy. Super Iron Bob. Okay, replace the ACA with the right to bear arms. Does the argument about anger over losing rights still stand? Heimdall's Gate. The penalty for not buying Obamacare was removed. You have no clue what you're talking about. And Lyra, am I oppressed yet? Yes, you are, Lyra. I know Lyra. One of our many resident server traps. Yeah, I've all caught up now.
Yeah, that's why when I said, what did they take away? And you said the ACA, I was like, all right, never mind. Because it still exists.
Wasn't the Obamacare thing repealed? So
No,
despite votes to repeal Obamacare. Right. So I guess I will rephrase my argument there. I concede that it has not come into law yet, but people are their Obamacare might be taken away. So,
Even if it is,
given
people
that
can
that's
still
what
get
the
Medicaid.
Republicans are voting for, they still have a chance to protest it. So I can understand why they want to protest that.
Well, people still have the option to get Medicaid and Medicare if that gets taken away. But I thought you might have maybe been alluding to a specific thing, like they stopped government payment for hormones or something like that. But no.
Not for like trans people necessarily, but I do think they might be looking at that. I don't know. I'm not super like, there are things that go on in American politics that I'm not entirely caught up on just because, I'm not from the country. So there are things, yeah. Also, people in the chat are like, I was wrong, try it. I admit I was wrong about that. I thought Obamacare was completely repealed already. So the fact that it got voted in, I thought that was done. But I guess just because it was voted for doesn't mean it's going to happen for some reason. I don't know. That's weird.
I have no idea. I didn't follow anything about Obamacare.
I thought if the Senate would vote for something that it would just be law now. Okay, that happens, but I don't know, American politics, maybe it's weird. You don't even have basic facts of the argument. You're just reflexively defending the behavior of your side because it's your side. Okay, thanks,
That
Agent.
was an excellent Croughton T impression.
Fuck, it actually kind of does sound like him when he's mad.
Guys, it
little
wasn't
bit.
it wasn't a doxing server.
Oh my god, that sounds like
That's a good impression. Fuck.
All of the audio are actually me. I'm kidding on. Whoa, that was a joke. I do not want implicated in that shit. I could just do a very good crowd impression. Right, please don't. Fuck.
If Crowd ever can't make it back to YouTube, he should just do ASMR shit. That would go insane.
He actually would be really good at this. I actually said this once before, but I think it was back when he was doing this sort of anti-Islam content, and I was going, Islam is a danger to the West, or something like that. I thought it'd be funny.
Harmful Opinions did the ASMR once, and I'm not going to lie, it made my pussy quiver. I'm telling you, man.
Sliding off the chair.
Yeah, man. I was like a snail leaving a trail behind me.
Where do we go from here?
I don't really know. It's kind of good to talk because I think it's kind of humanizing because, on Twitter, I think everyone just gets Twitter brain and gets mad. Yeah, of course. And you see me as human now, and now I can infiltrate political discussion.
I want shit like this to happen. I want stuff like this. That's why we need to branch out and actually start having chats. It's better than just fucking shit flinging on fucking Twitter.
It's better than the circle jerk, but I think it's a little more productive to get on the same page. I don't think we ever really reached a conclusion about because I think trans women are women. Sinatra thinks they're men, and I don't think I can convince him otherwise. Because honestly, I think it's if I can't, I don't really see how I could convince someone if they're already of the opinion that, trans women are men. I don't really know how I can touch that because it's just kind of oh, okay, well, I mean, I completely disagree with the whole premise, so I don't know if we can really agree with anything from then onward because it's just such a huge disagreement.
Well, having conversations like this, I never really tried to have it to be well, I'm going to talk to you and try to change your mind. Because I know chances are I probably won't. But it still makes for an interesting conversation, and it could change a viewer's mind. And that's what it more or less
that's what I'm going for, is I'm hoping that maybe I can push, if I can't push someone towards more the left, even just the center, or at least going, hey, why does this really have to be a left-right issue of trans rights? Why can't we all just get along? Why do we need trans women not in the bathrooms? Because I don't really understand why any of this is necessary. This is just kind of making it so these trans women can't really go out anywhere because, what are they going to have to do? Wear adult nappies? That seems a bit degrading.
They have to go outside with the rest of the animals.
Yeah, you need to go outside and use a bush. Do it the way nature.
I know you're joking, but that's basically the option. It doesn't really seem fair. Why can't they just be like everyone else and go to the loo like anyone else? I feel that was how it used to be.
I am just joking. I can assure you that I have been in toilets with trans women.
Well, when Andy had his little breakdown before all this IBS stuff, way back when he was doing a show with Tim Blake.
Yeah.
And I think it was called Fair Enough.
Irritable bowel syndrome is all I hear whenever someone says IBS. I've just got to say that. I've got to get that out of the way.
Everyone involved has irritated bowels now, don't worry. But after a while...
you slept that, did you?
I did. After a while, Andy wasn't going to do that anymore, and Tim and I had got to start talking. And we were going to try to start doing this again, but Tim had disappeared from the internet. But that's still something if Andy doesn't plan on picking it back up now that he's back and doing his own thing, that's something I would really like to start doing, once I get my 10,000 strikes situated. And I think that would be a good thing. It would be very productive conversations.
I mean, I guess if I could bring you over to like seeing like that maybe trans women in the bathrooms isn't the end of the world and it's not asking for the moon. Like if they're allowed to just go to the women's restroom, then I don't really think it like I think it could be productive if you're willing to be swayed on anything, or I'm going to be open-minded as well. I'm not going to say like, oh, I'm right on everything all the time and you have to 100%. Like I'm willing to like give you some credit for some things, like, and meet in the middle on some things.
Well, I don't think it would be necessarily if just because I did send you a DM about it. You never got back to me because you're a shithead.
Oh, right.
But
Sorry.
it would like you would bring somebody. I would bring somebody, and then that would be the thing. Kind of like
I wouldn't feel comfortable bringing somebody on if they are trans onto your show, to be honest, just because for one thing, it's fine for me to sit here and debate with you about this as a semantic issue and as a issue that's not too emotional to me, but for a trans person it would be a completely different thing, because to them what you're sort of proposing and what you're supporting is essentially stopping them from just being like ordinary people, being able to go to the restroom without having to worry about people trying to check their genitalia or anything like that. And so I don't think they're going to be as calm as I am. The only reason I can be calm about this is because this doesn't personally affect me in any way.
Well, this wouldn't be the only issue we'd ever talk about.
I know, but I'm just saying as well, like, I don't really think they'd be comfortable talking to you in general, and I wouldn't want to push them into that. If you're not willing to see them as people and just that they have a right to be out in public spaces like anyone, then I can see why they wouldn't want to talk to you.
That they're not allowed to be out in public and that they're not people. I'm not Thanos and gonna snap the Infinity Gauntlet and make them not feel so well. They're human beings. That's
But
fine.
Why won't you just
but
let
just
them
because
in public spaces where like a public restroom, I don't understand why the big deal about that with Republicans. It's like
I don't
a
give a fuck
non-issue.
when a trans person wants to piss. Keep your hands to yourself. That's all I care about.
But that's already the case. And the thing is, like, the reason, like, people from the Republican side always seem to get all upset about the idea of a trans woman going into the restroom and abusing somebody. But what's to stop me from doing it? I'm cis and I could go in and abuse somebody. So, I'm not banned from the restroom. They're under the assumption that I'm going to do that just because of my genitals, And I think it's kind of weird that I, the feminist, am arguing with somebody that judging people based on their genitals, like because they have a penis, and assuming they're going to be violent, like predators, it's just kind of ironic,
I think though that just to make everybody happy, it would be the same way that you deal with the homeless shelters. You have trans bathrooms. I mean, that's already a thing. There's trans bathrooms in a lot of places.
But I mean, the thing is, that's an expensive solution where not everywhere's going to have the money for that. Some don't even like. I don't. You're talking about installing a third bathroom everywhere, like, and if not everywhere, then it's exclusive. We already have a space that they can use, so I don't see why they can't just use it.
This isn't me making a joke, right? Although the chat's going to roll with it as a joke. Wouldn't every place by law has to have a disabled bathroom, right? Wouldn't it be okay if the disabled bathroom could like double? Like, I'm not. I'm not saying that, but
it's just more. But then the disabled people are not going to be able to use it. Like, if there's trans people in there, and then also, like, are people going to just say that they're trans so that they get to use the disabled restroom when that's supposed to be used by disabled people, and they're going to be like, oh no, it's okay, I'm trans, I'm meant to be in here. Like, then you run into other problems where it's exactly the same as like the whole scenario of somebody saying they're trans to get into the women's restroom. Like, is that just going to happen but for the disabled restroom now?
Well, that's the thing is, like, see, sometimes I just straight up use the disabled restroom because it's usually cleaner.
Oh, dude, it's so much cleaner, and you got leg room.
By the way, do you know what I actually did once in a pub as well? Because I didn't realise I actually used the girls' toilets And everyone, right, and it wasn't until I was done pissing in the cubicle, I turned around, it came out, and I went, holy shit. They, like, 2 girls came in, they just laughed at me,
I
right?
think a guy did that in the city, and he had the door fucking open. Like, I went in
No, that's
to
a
this
real man.
restroom in the city, and
His pants were down around his ankles and everything.
well, I mean, he had his fly undone. I didn't see his ass or anything, but like he was, doing the standing. You can tell when a man's pissing when you see him from behind, right?
I thought he was shitting.
No, he was.
That's why when he said with the door open, I was like, God damn, that is a
pissing
real
with the
man.
door open and like. But yeah, I walked in and I was like, oh my God, because he was just dead ass standing there with the door open pissing, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's not something I was expecting, so I just immediately walked out because I thought, what the fuck? Like, and yeah, but I don't know if he like, that's just a funny story. I don't really know why he was in there. I think he just probably walked into the wrong one. It's kind of weird though. Don't they tend to have like urinals in the men's ones? Like, wouldn't they just kind of go, hang on a moment, no urinals?
I was drunk as fuck.
I
I just walked in and like I just seen a urinal and went, like, I just seen the cubicle and I just went straight for it. Yeah, I didn't give a shit. I've done it at 9 pints deep.
Stadium shows before, where the way the stadium is here in Cleveland is like there's the wall and the set back a few feet and then the door on either side, and I'm like, okay, this must be the men's room because that says women's room, but it was all the women's restroom, and it was just like 30 stalls. I'm like, fuck.
My friends did this to me at a music festival. I was pissed at the time, but looking back on it now, I can laugh. We were like, this was at Tea in the Park, and we were in the middle of a crowd of literally thousands and thousands of people. It's a massive music festival. And I really needed to piss, and I knew I couldn't get out the crowd. And I just said to my friends, like, just gather around me with your backs to me, just to sort of like hide what I'm doing, so I can just piss on the ground in the middle of this crowd. And as soon as I started pissing, they all ran away. So I'm just standing there. And then everyone even started shouting, he's pissing, to get everyone.
Oh my God.
So I just, a few hundred people just looking at me with my dick out.
And you can't cut the stream.
Yeah, I was like, I've started now, man. There's no brakes on this train.
That's amazing.
Why would you trust, dude? You trust your friends way more than I've ever trusted mine.
No, I know. Like, did you see what my friends did on my channel?
No.
I passed out drunk in my house. This was at my birthday night out. I passed out drunk. They came up here, switched my computer on, and did a live stream with their shirts off. and they were that drunk they deleted it, not realizing that thousands of memes and screenshots had been taken, and they thought like I just would wake up and not notice. Oh, man, I was like, you motherfuckers, man. I'm luckily they didn't do anything that could have got me a strike.
I don't think you need to do anything to get a strike anymore, man.
Oh yeah, you have it fucking bad, don't you?
I have pissed off some fandom somewhere beyond reproach.
Yeah, you get strikes all the time. Like my last,
I haven't actually gotten a strike yet.
I'm on like number 17.
Oh, actually, I shouldn't have said that. I've definitely gotten a strike.
Wow,
please no.
The left
Please no.
not get strikes. Imagine my shock.
Oh no.
Yeah, I've only had that one video put
Tom
into
guy
limited
got one,
state.
I
so.
think, and David Chirac got one, and like, I don't know. Actually, I think there's been people who've gotten their channels deleted. Like, I remember Kevin Logan had his whole channel deleted by Pol at one stage because there was a war between Lefty Pol and Pol.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
there was all that shit. So
he never even got it back, didn't he? Not.
I think he did, didn't he? I don't know.
No, I think I don't know. I need to ask him, but I'm pretty sure that like YouTube just didn't give a shit.
Could I address something the chat was asking actually?
Yeah.
Just quickly, I just remembered I never addressed it, but I kind of wanted to, because they were asking what if the person was a trans woman who I saw in the bathroom. The thing is, I would be weirded out if I saw anyone pissing with the door open, like wide open. That was the weirder thing. Like, because if it was a cis woman or a trans woman, I don't give a shit. Like, the idea of them just pissing with the door open was weird. Like, I mean, and I'm pretty sure this was not a trans woman. Like, this guy had very short hair, was very tall, wearing, a sort of, he looked like he was dressed sharp. So I don't know. But I just saw the back of him, so I don't know. But
How dare you
yeah,
sharp dress gender.
Yeah, I don't know, like he was dressed sharp but like in men's clothing, so there was nothing to indicate that he was actually a trans woman. And pissing with the door open is a pretty bloke thing to do. Like I never have seen a woman do it. So
Wait till you walk
know.
in on a guy shitting standing up. That's a real man.
Oh man. I actually, women can be fucking festy though, speaking of women's restrooms. Because people assume women are like great in that way, like they assume like women's restrooms must be like amazing or really clean. And no, they're fucking not. They can be fucking fucked. Excuse my language, but
I worked in retail for a bit and I had to clean a ladies' restroom. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Dude, I had to wear like a hazmat suit because there was even just thinking about it gives me that like queasy feeling.
I know what it would have been.
There was shit and blood on the wall.
Oh my god. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. Oh,
and I'm just it traumatized me.
Some festy bitch at my old work would leave her fucking pads in the restroom, and the poor fucking receptionist ended up having to clean it up because we didn't have anyone paid to do that. And it was just like, everyone had the same horrified reaction, but I'm looking at all the women like, one of you bitches did this. Like, don't act like surprised. I know one of you is just going, oh, wow, somebody left that there?
They got their hands on their hips like that.
Oh my god. And I'm like, who's looking too shocked? One of you fucking did it. Like,
it's doing it, blaming everyone else.
Festy is fine. I'm going to keep saying festy, chat.
What the fuck is festy? Feisty?
It means like kind of gross, messed up.
Yeah.
Festy must be
I'll legit. So sorry, I don't speak prison colony.
Wait, fuck off. You're just mocking me because you're the ones who didn't get caught.
By the way, I actually might be in Australia like next month as well. Like I'm a Scotsman in Australia at the height of the Australian summer. I'm just going to evaporate as soon as I get off the plane.
You're gonna have a fun time. It's gonna be warm next month. Although I'm pretty sure it's spring next month. So like, isn't it still spring? Unless you're going in December, but December's like where Christmas is. So.
Yeah, it's just
you're gonna look like Linda.
Yeah.
You're gonna look like Linda Hamilton when she's hanging on the fence in Terminator 2.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be fucked.
Actually, Christmas in Australia is really interesting because we have Christmas in summer for our country. So none of the Christmas songs make any fucking sense. None of the Christmas foods make any sense because there are still people who make all this Christmas food that's like super hot and makes you feel warm, and you eat it and you're just like sweating like crazy because it's like 40 degrees outside and you're like, what in the fuck? Like, why are we eating this like really warm food?
I'm just picturing like let it snow, let it snow, let it snow while you're frying an egg on the ground.
Yeah, basically.
Sandstorm like rolling through.
Like bright outside and like, I mean, because I don't live where it's sandy or anything, but like it'll be like really bright outside, really hot weather, and like, you know, your skin's burning in the sun, and next, let it snow, let it snow. And it's like all these other songs. So walking in a winter wonderland. Yeah, I've got a terrible singing voice, so I already know that. I know, like, I haven't looked at the chat, but it's pretty. Yeah, like
right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like,
I am going to finish off the super chats and then I'm going to head off because it's 3:30.
Can I get one more question before you do that?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
What is the war with the emus?
It's not a real war. I looked this up because I had no idea what it was till I got made fun of. No, well, we had all these shitty, you know, English guns, and on top of that, it wasn't a real war. It was around the end of World War I think, and they had a bunch of shit lying around from the army, and they needed to cull off some emus because they were destroying crops. And so they planned it poorly, and then the emus outsmarted them by running around, and it was like, I don't know, they didn't run
an Australian by running.
Wait, like
when the chat mad, you're calling it not a real war.
Yeah, there were like two people in like shooting at them. So 2 people shot at some emus and missed, and that's apparently a war. I don't like. It was just called a war by the newspapers, and I know you guys hate the media, so don't suddenly be friendly with the media and go, no, it's a totally real war because the media told me it was.
So,
the media called it that to sell papers.
So what you're saying is
Good men died in that war. There were no casualties. No human casualties.
Just to clarify a few things, right? So what you're saying is there were no machine guns. There were no deaths. It didn't really happen. The media are just blowing it up. But 6 guerrilla.
Oh my
god.
god.
Oh god. No. Oh no. Oh no. Please no. Don't do that.
Shut
Don't
down.
do that. You're ruining me. Please no. I don't want your anti-Semitic memes. Please no. That's a totally different situation because, like, there were lots of casualties in the Holocaust, but the fucking emu war, so-called emu war, had no human casualties. So, like, how is that even a war?
It's a slaughter.
I think
the emus were like
I think it's
destroying crops
and drummed up just so the emus can try and have a stake to Tasmania. I think that's what it is.
Stop!
Shut it down! Shut it down!
We were going so
Oi,
well,
V,
and now
the
you've
Bogans know.
Oh no, this is bad. Please, like, stop the anti-Semitic jokes. You're gonna ruin me.
It's all jokes. Don't worry about it.
I know you're joking, but like, please, I don't want work Twitter on my ass for this because I know you're just doing this to fucking get me in shit with the wife. Work Twitter.
Woke feminist.
You're fucking ruining everything. Don't. Like, the emu war had nothing to do with Jews. Just stop.
That's what you think.
Right.
You don't even know if it was a war.
You're being edgy, dude.
I'm gonna read these simple chats and then we can go.
What have you fucking done, mate? Oh man, I'm never gonna fucking hear the end of this.
You almost made out of this unscathed.
I almost did, and now it's going to be like, why didn't you call him out harder for saying anti-Semitic jokes? It's like, yeah.
Basically, all I'm trying to say is, see if suddenly,
No, don't make it worse.
No, it's not a joke. Don't worry. I'm just saying, Rational Claudia. If suddenly out of the blue, a bunch of reporters follow you, prepare for a hit piece, right? That's all I'm saying. Because every time it's happened to me, where it's like, this person followed you from BuzzFeed, from The Guardian, and hit piece incoming.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll read the super chats. CPU man, only gender things that matter are X and Y. Daniel MacArthur, GOP are trying to cut SS, Medicaid, and Medicare. Agent Pepe, FBI. Claudia, you don't even know the basic facts of the argument. You are just reflexively defending the behaviour of your side because it is your side. In fact, you read that yourself.
Oh, I thought you just said that.
I was reading a super chat.
Lyra, tell the Aussie to send Bob, please. Claudia, I recommend that you do. Lyra's cute. Lyra.
We've heard some claims. We're going to need proof.
Yeah, Lyra has a very nice feminine penis. Thanks for reading all my super chats, big man. Before I go, women are over emotional, degenerate wrecks that can't handle criticism. And Rational needs to eat more onions to raise his T levels. Peace out. Jesus Christ.
Bob in the chat here. I just linked it in the Hangouts chat.
Right. What one was that?
It's the second link.
Did I want to click this?
Yeah, it's fine. It's not goatsy or anything.
Oh no, that's the best kind of Bob. That's the only Bob I want to see. Yeah, hell yeah, right. Hard agree. We've reached strong common ground here because that man is a fucking god. Right?
That's a pretty good way to end it.
It's a picture of Bob Ross. It's such a dad joke.
I watch him when I want to sleep. Baron Voodoo. Obamacare cost me £300 per month based on my net worth and high risk of cancer. Pre-existing conditions are totally not tacked into that. Kurwa. That was a fart. I'm sorry. Tengu. Claudia says with a blank expressionless avatar, it's good to talk. It's humanizing. NPC confirmed. Steve Connor, I'm right voting mainly. I'm a left centrist. When Claudia talks about how the right are monsters that want everyone to die, it pushes me away from the left. My aunt showed me that Christianity was a gay. Okay. Lyra, laugh my ass off. What a gay. Trannies can handle the bants. Lyra is a pretty banterful trans.
Yeah, I think if we found a fun trans person, they could handle the bands.
But Lyra's quite funny. Lyra is pretty funny. Fuck off. Alvin York for Mad Lads. I keep getting so many Mad Lad suggestions. Iblis Shaitan. Gender is not about plumbing. Male has a ding-a-ling. Female has a gash. Gender is mannerisms expected of someone of a specific sex. Educate yourself. Also, traps aren't gay. Ricardo Giacolone, talk about Goblin Slayer or the NPC meme or just dank memes. I don't want to talk about Goblin Slayer because I heard it's got lolly shit in it. Partly Arm Civvy, how many trans people do you think there are? I have no idea. Storm,
12.
Hello, there are 12 in the whole world. Storm, hello from a dying man. Awesome stream so far. Punishment 90. Jeremy is trying to stream you Scottish Shaft Tour. Share the internet. It's okay, Jeremy. We're coming off just now. The Dacian Chronologue. Hey man, why are you streaming this long? Share the love. Come in the quartering. Okay, Jeremy. Okay, I'm coming off. But anyway, this was wholesome as fuck.
Yes.
This was good.
Yeah.
I put my dick pic in the side chat too.
Oh, what's this? White House, it says. So redirect notice. Yep. I know this. Richard Nixon. I knew it was going to be okay because it said whitehouse.gov. So I'm like, okay, so it's not going to be something. Yeah. Okay.
It's Trump's pussy grabbing policy.
I mean, I'm not a fan of him or anything. It's just like, haha, dick pic, haha. Get it? Yeah.
All right, end this shit.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm fucking tired. But yeah, thanks very much.
Everyone for having a look. For coming. Yep.
We should do this again as well. We need to do more stuff like this. It accomplishes a fuck ton more than just fucking shit flinging on Twitter.
Yeah, it's definitely better than Twitter.
For sure. I think I've kind of been talking too much. Did Rational Disconnect want to say anything before we finish this, or? Yeah.
No, I think we can just end it. I do just want to say thank you for having me on, though.
That's cool, man. Can you do me a huge favor, though?
Sure.
Oh, boy.
Well, it depends. Hold on. Let's hear it first.
Can you say the 14 words?
Dude, no. Don't do it.
I'll play us out with the 14 words.
I think I'll pass on that one.
That's fine. I understand.
There's been enough of those memes so far. So.
I think somebody asked me to read that for them once, and then they said, "Oh, I recorded that," and I'm like, "What?" Because I think we were talking on Discord, but they were just fucking with me. They didn't, so that made me glad.
Right. Well, we'll end it here. Thanks very much for coming, guys. Right. See you later.
It's not a meme.